There was a serious injury during a WWE taping last night, plus new NXT champions have been crowned and Elimination Chamber plans seem to have been scrapped. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling news right now. So it was during last night's NXT taping that we had a serious injury take place. This is from Fightful Select, and it's to do with SmackDown Shotzi, isn't it, Jack?
It is, unfortunately, with Fightful Select revealing that Shotzi suffered a serious knee injury during her match for the NXT Women's Championship against Lyra Valkyria last night. In the match, she went for a DDT on the apron, but then as she executed the move, Shotzi is said to have struck her knee on the apron and been unable to continue the match. The match was then stopped, and it's very unfortunate for Shotzi, who does have a history of injury issues as well.
Fightful Select say after speaking to several sources in NXT, Corey Brennan from Fightful was able to confirm that Shotzi was not able to place weight on her injured knee and was forced to hop to the back with assistance from WWE's medical team. It was apparent when Shotzi arrived backstage that she was in a large amount of pain. Officials backstage were said to be very concerned for Shotzi, and she was immediately taken for medical evaluation. But this was sort of in the middle of an NXT taping, and we're going to talk about why they were taping NXT last night in a little bit. But it was because of the fact that it was a taping, there was a live crowd there, and everything was to a schedule. They did a bit of last-minute booking to get through this difficult situation.
So if you want to avoid spoilers for future episodes of NXT, do look away briefly now. But following the injury, NXT General Manager Ava, formerly known as Ava Raine, came out and made an open challenge to anybody who wanted to face Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship. This brought out Lash Legend, fair play to her for stepping up very late on. And the two are said to have improvised a very short match from here that saw Lyra defeat Lash to retain the title. Fightful says that NXT has commended all the parties involved for adapting well to a difficult situation.
And of course, we send our best wishes to Shotzi, as you say, somebody who's had a series of injuries in the past.
Yeah.
This just seems like a freak accident in the middle of a match, and we hope that it's not as bad as we certainly seem to think it is this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like an unusual one. How many times will a wrestler, hit their knee on the apron while executing or taking a move? But, it just reminds us all that wrestling, even the more innocuous moments in wrestling, can be very, very dangerous indeed.
Yeah, so all the best to Shotzi. Also last night on NXT, on the live show that we saw before the tape show that we talked about just there, we had new champions crowned, didn't we?
We did. The Wolf Dogs, they're the new NXT Tag Team Champions. For those of you who don't know, the Wolf Dogs are the team of Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin's the wolf, Bron Breakker's the dog. And there you go.
Baron Corbin's the wolf,
yes.
Bron Breakker's the dog. Wacky adventures together, Wolf Dogs.
NXT Wolf Dogs. They won the Dusty Classic recently, and they've capitalized on that success by winning the NXT Tag Team Championships, defeating Tony D and Stax after they got whacked, it says here in the notes, with an end of days and a spear in quick succession. Braun is obviously expected to get a major push on the main roster soon, with talk of him. I mean, he was on last week's SmackDown, wasn't he, talking to Triple H, saying, which one do I sign for? But that hasn't stopped him from winning NXT Gold.
Not at all. So
more NXT Gold. He is a former NXT champion, of course.
And this is the interesting thing about this, because for Bron Breakker, this is the first bit of NXT Gold that he's had since he became NXT champion. For Baron Corbin, this is the first championship he's had a sniff of in 7 years.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
US title 2017 was his last one.
2017.
Yeah.
Because he's always there. He's always involved in storylines and stuff on whichever brand he is. So you just expect him to have at least won some form of gold in the years since. I can't believe that.
Because only one person's ever kicked out at the end of days. So you'd assumed he'd won loads of gold, but no. Well done to both. I could see the Wolf Dogs having some fun as this big beefy boy tag team.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've had some fun already, and now as champs, they'll just continue to.
They're in quite a unique position because they are heels, but the crowd love cheering them, so good for them.
Obviously, we talk about Bron Breakker coming up as a single star. Do you think there's a temptation to maybe bring up the Wolf Dogs as a unit?
Possibly, because I suppose you want... And if you're going to bring up Braun and make him a big deal on the main roster, you might want one of his earlier feuds to be against someone well-established who he can get a big victory over. So if they bring up the Wolf Dogs and have them quickly turn on each other, I don't know if that's too controversial because the Wolf Dogs are loyal to the end.
They are loyal to the end. School is out for NXT.
Really serious there. But
Wolf Dogs.
I'd like to apologise because Wolf Dogs, as we all know, are loyal to the end.
I feel like this is still part of the sitcom theme music.
Yeah.
The Wolf Dogs, and they're loyal till the end.
Yes.
So that school's out for NXT for the next week. No one's there next week because they taped 2 weeks worth last night. Although, obviously, the NXT roster aren't going to Australia, but there's a very good reason for why. PW Insider are reporting that tryouts are being held in Australia for new talent, and therefore a lot of key members of the NXT backroom are traveling to Australia to evaluate them. So they thought, well, rather than try and sort of build a skeleton crew with whoever's left in America, let's just tape 2 weeks worth, get it in the can, and then we can figure it all out when we get back from Oz.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just the wrestlers, that's, production staff and
It's mainly for NXT, the production staff.
Right, okay.
There might be a couple of NXT wrestlers going over as well.
Right.
I imagine you want to take a few ringers just in case for situations and stuff. But they're taping 2 episodes of SmackDown on Friday. They're doing a live one, then a taped one, and then they're doing a live Raw, and then they're all flying to Australia.
I see. And no NXT talent has been officially booked for Elimination Chamber, but Dave Meltzer has reported in Wrestling Observer newsletter that these tryouts are taking place in Perth during Elimination Chamber week, and key people from NXT will be in Australia for the tryouts. So hopefully it all goes well and they can find some new exciting talent.
Yeah, get some big names on.
Absolutely.
Get some big lads from Australia over here, over to America.
And lasses. Especially. Don't know why I've said especially.
Especially.
Please carry on.
Lasses.
Please continue.
Lads, lasses, non-binary.
Yes.
Good Australian talent. Come one, come all.
Why not?
Cobber.
Yes.
On the podcast feed right now, brand new episode of Desert Island Graps. Had a very cathartic conversation with Zicky Dice.
Oh, really?
Love Zicky
Formerly
Dice.
of the NWA.
Formerly of NWA, formerly of Impact Wrestling.
Oh, of course, yes.
Got beaten up by Keith Lee that time on AEW.
Yes.
Paul Heyman has described Zicky Dice as bigger than professional wrestling.
Fantastic.
Which is an incredible soundbite from Paul Heyman, who genuinely is a big fan of Zicky Dice. Find out how that conversation went. And also, I think, when an interview's gone well, where Zicky Dice says, well, how do I pay you for this therapy session?
Fantastic.
Which he did. And Zicky has got so much to give in wrestling, and he isn't shy about talking about the loves and the frustrations that he has from the world of wrestling. We get into it over an hour, plus he chooses his 3 favourite wrestling matches to watch while stranded metaphorically on a desert island. So that's on the podcast feed right now. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our sister podcast feed, Cultaholic Wrestling News, where every morning you get your wrestling update in 10 minutes in audio form, just blasted into your ears.
Yes, absolutely.
Good
Why
like
not?
that. Exactly. Search Cultaholic Wrestling News on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from, and give it 5 stars. Many thanks. Off we go to Australia this coming week. As we've said, there's Jack flying like a plane, like a G6. And with the had some announcements about plans for the Chamber.
Really surface level joke there. I'm so sorry.
I loved it. We had some early plans for Chamber announcements, but it looks as if part of those plans could have been scrapped.
Yes, absolutely. PW Insider is saying, as of yesterday, Jade Cargill is no longer slated for the Women's Elimination Chamber on February 24th in Perth. She is scheduled, though, to be at SmackDown this week, so plans could always change. They could have doubled back and then doubled back once again. They could have gone back to their original plan.
They could have pivoted once more. So the plan was going to be to see Jade Cargill, along with the likes of Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, in the Elimination Chamber match itself. Bianca Belair in there as well. I should have mentioned Bianca Belair. But it looks as if, according to PW Insider, they might be making changes on that. And I'm not against that, because you think about it, we've seen Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill have that brilliant stare down.
Yes, in the Royal Rumble.
In the Rumble. And I think that's a WrestleMania match where you don't really need to do much else other than some decent promo work.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to have Jade Cargill lose in the Chamber.
No, or even wrestle much.
Or even wrestle in the Chamber. I don't think.
I was thinking the only way I would like to see Jade Cargill back in the Chamber, if she's not going to win the whole thing, which we assume she's not, like you say, you don't want her to lose. So maybe if her and Bianca both went, crashing out of the ring, out of the Chamber together or something to the outside. But I agree with you totally. I don't know if it's wise having her eliminated from a match, even if it's not clean or whatever, but you don't want to see her lose before her first big WrestleMania match. And so, yeah, I agree.
Exactly. The creative mind of Jack the Jobber on show tonight on Twitch. You're twitching tonight?
I am twitching tonight. It's myself. I'm flying solo. Owen Mawson can't make it this week.
Jason Derulo.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm it's riding solo. Come on. I thought about whether or not. I didn't know whether or not to correct you.
You should correct me.
I look like
for
such a pedantic Jason Derulo
as a radio person,
Come
I
on,
should
Tom.
know. I should know.
It's riding solo. I am riding solo tonight on twitch.tv/Cultaholic. Owen Mawson can't make it, but I will still be playing Football Manager. We've moved from South Shields FC. We're over in Niigata in Japan. We're taking charge of the Swans. Come on, the Swans. We got the job last week or the last 2 weeks ago. We haven't touched it yet. I'm going to be looking at the new squad, and oh god, it could all go very badly. We got sacked from South Shields. We thought we're never going to find another job on the game. Japan went, come on in. Bloody hell, right, pack your bags.
So Mariners to Swans.
Yeah.
Do they have to be water-based teams that you play for?
I've not. You know what? You might be onto something there.
Inquiring minds want to know. Twitch.tv/Cultaholic from 6 p.m. GMT. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, you could check out Cultaholic.com. Stay safe. I love you. Bye.